Hello, welcome. This month's video is in honour of today, which is the Trans Day of Visibility. So, my name is Chucks and I am transgender. That shouldn't be so hard to say, and yet it is, to the point which I actually wrote down what I thought I needed to say for this video, because I have spent my whole life trying to figure out where I fit, and that has been a very difficult thing. I spent years wearing male pronouns and feeling like I was in an ill-fitting and extremely itchy jumper, which is like sweater in other countries. But it never felt right, and it always felt uncomfortable, and thinking about it too deeply made me feel ill. But then I spent years having different issues with female pronouns, and people accepted them more readily most of the time. I had less harassment issues with female pronouns. My voice and my mannerisms are quite feminine, and I have very wide hips, and it was easier in some ways because it still felt like a deception and like I wasn't quite being myself. And for a great deal of time I wondered whether this was simply my own internalised issues surrounding gender and being transgender, or if there was something more, something else. And I held off using they, them pronouns for a very long time because I had heard so many people spew forth hatred for anyone who used them, simply because they could not handle them being used in a singular form. It was like I was drowning kittens in a sack, like I had done some terrible, unforgivable thing by claiming not to be a he or a she, but to be a they, because they could not bring themselves to use they or them to denote a singular person. But once I started using those pronouns, that's when I realised that they were actually the ones for me, and that despite the fear of how people would react, I actually felt better in myself. And I wish it hadn't taken me years to get there, because it was a relief. And I have made my peace with, on a daily and weekly basis, hearing Miss, Sir, he and she when people are talking to me, and I don't mind very much anymore. I'm actually okay with all of that, as long as it's not used in a derogatory way. But it has been so heartening to realise that they, them pronouns fit for me. But of course, with that has come the queries along the lines of, but if you use those pronouns, that doesn't make you trans, does it? But if that is your thinking, then to me, that means you're still looking at the situation in terms of a gender binary. And my body and my mind don't fit within that binary. And I feel the same can be said for being polysexual. People have trouble understanding that there is more than straight and gay. I'm not either of those. I quite happily use the terms polysexual, pansexual and bisexual depending on the situation, who I'm talking to, how I'm feeling and the point I'm at in my life. And the same goes for my gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I am comfortable using terms such as non-binary, gender fluids, transgender and genderqueer to describe myself. And the terminology that is used in Australia is often, in my experience, that transgender is an umbrella term. Some people identify as gender neutral, agender, non-binary, gender fluid, transgender or transsexual, and all of those terms are used within the community. One of my doctors is transsexual. That is her preferred term for herself. That is how she knows herself and has done so for nearly 60 years. And the same goes for another friend of mine, while two other very close friends use the term transgender, and that is their term for themselves. And so for a long time I wondered how I could fit with those words and what that meant for me. Because I like words and I like labels, I want to know who I am, and labels and definitions and all of that can help a lot. Feeling connected to a community can help a lot. And so for me, coming to see that my changing and constantly shifting self-understanding of my gender was an accepted part of the transgender community was really important for me. It means that I get to participate and be visible. And as somebody who felt very invisible for so long, being allowed to do that, say that I fit somewhere and that what I am is valid, is a pretty big deal. So yes, I am Chucks. I am a non-binary trans person, and I am visible, and that makes me happier than I could possibly purvey. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely transgender day of visibility, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye.